All right, welcome back to the Recreating Connections and RRS podcast. We are continuing Recreation Resources Service Month, highlighting all the important pieces of RRS. But first, I'm your host, Alex Cadet, the Outreach Consultant with RRS, and I have my co-host.
Hey, I'm Holly Henry, and I'm the University Program Associate.
And today we have a tenured veteran of
Tenured
RRS.
veteran.
We have Northeast Regional Consultant Scott Payne with us. Scott, thanks for coming on today.
Yay,
Well, thank you.
Scott.
Thank you both. Yes, I am the tenured veteran. That is correct. Either that or I'm getting the AARP slot on the roster. I don't know. One of the two.
Well, Scott, thank you for joining us today. To start, can you share a little about your journey into the field of parks and recreation? And was this something you always envisioned for yourself, or did you kind of stumble into parks and recreation?
Uh, Very circuitous. I grew up in the outdoors and playing sports. So, I enjoyed being outdoors. When I was looking at college, that trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, although I'm still trying to figure part of that out. Um, I, uh, I was interested in doing something that connected me to parks. Probably large influences that I was a Boy Scout. I am an Eagle Scout, and so I connected that way. I didn't originally enroll though in Parks and Recreation. I actually, when I came to state, I enrolled. I was in political science. Just really wasn't finding my way there when I was here at NC State. But while I was, studying, I was also working part time. I volunteer coached youth basketball and youth football for Raleigh Parks. Someone convinced me that I should apply for a part time job as a community center aide for a whopping $4 an hour. That's what it was back then. And I started doing more of that and I enjoyed it. And someone connected me to the program here, which I didn't know they even had one at NC State. And I met Dr. Phil Ray. And Dr. Ray convinced me that this is maybe a degree that I should pursue. And so I did. I transferred everything in. He essentially gave me a chance. And I've been in and around that work ever since.
And so, looking back at all of that, what were some of the most pivotal moments or influences that led you towards your career in recreation and parks?
So when I was working part time, like I was at with Raleigh Parks, I got to meet some of the staff that were there, and they really influenced me. Jackie Twisdale, Jackie Lurwick now was the assistant athletic director. Frank Denton, Rayford Folger. I started meeting some of the professionals, and I was working in this paraprofessional role. And they were also directing me, hey, you do pretty good at this. Have you thought about making this? And they're the ones that Jackie actually connected me with Phil Ray. So it's just some of that work. Even I was a part-time employee, but I must have been doing all right because they actually made me a manager for fall softball instead of having a full-time staff person. I had to do it, and I had to go through the whole process. The league meetings. It was interesting that year. We had 75 teams, and we had a team from the Triangle Deaf Society. So I had to, work through to make sure I had a translator. So there were pieces like that really kind of drove me to think this is really fun and something that I want to do.
We talked to Brittany about this as well, but I hear you were in athletics for a little bit. Would you say athletics kind of got your feet wet as far as parks and recreation goes and gives you your training wheels pretty much as far as what you can expect?
Yeah, I do think involvement in youth sports combined with I also just like being outdoors in parks. Was fishing, hunting. So those two really. Brittany's probably the same way. She probably grew up fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those two helped influence some of that work.
So you've worn quite a few hats over the years, working in
Uh,
academic technology at NC State, serving in extension forestry, and moving into leadership roles in recreation. How did these diverse experiences shape your approach to parks and recreation?
yeah, I've seen a lot of it either as a full time capacity or even part time. When I was working part time with Raleigh, I also worked with the visually and hearing impaired program. I coached the basketball team at the Governor Moorhead School. So I have seen a lot. When I was with Raleigh Parks for some bizarre reason, they were just getting into computers. They actually bought little Macs, little Macintosh, little SEs, those little units. For some reason, I knew how to operate those. I actually started writing the manuals for staff, which led me into being, willing to take on technology. That's the mistake of reading a manual. If you don't read a manual, no one will come ask you questions. But I read the manuals,
It's so
um,
true.
and that got me, here when I was in grad school, graduated grad school. RRS hired me. So I was on the campus. I started doing more with technology. The technology led me to Extension Forestry because they were just getting into technology. We did some of the first online extension work for technical bulletins and research and webinars. We were doing a lot of teleconferences at that time. Was the first thing. So that led me into the academic affairs office to be the director of technology for the College of Natural Resources. We were doing faculty were just doing distance learning, so I was part of that. Um, and then the opportunity opened up full-time position with Raleigh Parks to be a recreation superintendent. And I decided to take the jump, leap of faith, and was with Raleigh Parks. In the portfolio I had included arts, it included natural resources, it included I had one time I had specialized recreation services. So again, I got to touch a lot of what we do as a profession and how we touch people as a profession. So that was just all of that was really a great experience for me, and helps me feel fairly rounded in what we do.
So you were the assistant director, and you also had two stints as interim Parks and Recreation director too, correct?
I did. So Raleigh, for an old system, has only had like maybe 5 directors over its life.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to serve. They asked me to serve as the interim director, and we were hiring a replacement for Diane Sauer. And then the gentleman we hired right during COVID, you know, just didn't work out. He went to take another position, so they asked me to sit as an interim again. And interim again gives you a different perspective because when you're at the superintendent or assistant director level, I was assistant director before that. You see kind of the 15,000 foot view. So you've got like the ground view, then you got the 15,000 foot view. When I was interim director, you work with all the other department heads and the managers and the council. So you really see that 30,000 foot view. So I can say I've seen the elephant. I just don't have to live with him as an interim, right? So all that directors have to do, I've seen it, I respect it, and I understand it. Yeah.
So what would you say stands out the most to you during your time leading such a large system?
Even with technology, even with everything moving so fast, AI, yada yada, it is still a people business. It is still
Yeah.
about relationships and connecting. And the people that get into this business love it. And it is so fun to see them do things and be successful. It's so fun to go cut a ribbon at a park, right? Because you see the staff who put it together and you see the excitement of the people. That is just such a fun thing to see.
So at what point were you the director of Recreation Resources Service? Now
Oh
that
yeah, there
you've
was that.
returned to RS,
So
yeah.
that came open. I was the director of academic and information technology here at the College of Natural Resources, and then the RS position came open. So I applied for that, accepted that, and that was exciting too because that time we had regional consultants. We're still relatively new with the staff from DPR that became RRS consultants, and we were doing a lot of teleconferencing work there. Butch Kazai, who was the regional consultant in Asheville, got us into that, and we really grew it where we were monthly doing professional development. And the way we had it set up, that staff would be at one of the 7 campuses across the UNC system. We were, Recreation Resource Service was the largest non-academic producer of content in the UNC teleconference system for a number of years. So it was a great way to reach people. It was a great way to, and we leveraged that with some other things. We worked with some other state agencies on doing teleconferencing too. When I finished my master's, I got hired to work for RS, and I had the Northeast region. Then I became the director, and then I left to go to Raleigh Parks, and then I retired from Raleigh Parks, failed retirement, and this opportunity came up back here, and it's back in the Northeast. So it's really kind of neat to kind of this full
That's
circle.
really cool.
Yeah.
What year were you the director?
Oh Lord, I think I left here 2006.
Okay. Okay.
So I want to say 2004, 2006, something like that, maybe.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it came right back around, huh? Well, not director,
Yeah, full
but
circle
back in
moment.
RRS
Yeah.
though.
Now that you've returned as the Northeast Regional Consultant, how has the program evolved since your time as director? And like, what do you think has changed and what do you think has remained the same within RRS?
But I think the region touch has stayed the same, but the
Yeah.
maturity of the grant program is phenomenal compared to where part of it was relatively new. We had the LWCF that had always been around, and that was what we were predominantly doing. Then part of it was created. There was some excitement about watching that happen, but to see where part of it was and to where it is now, that's very transformative. It's a much more mature program, and you see how many communities have been supported by that. That's been pretty cool.
For sure, I can imagine. So you were a certified playground safety inspector and have worked extensively with training programs like the Maintenance Management School. Why are these types of continuing education and professional development opportunities so important to the field?
Yeah, I was working with Dr. Candace Good, who was the director for RS, and I said, I think there's a lot of emphasis on playgrounds and playground safety. The Consumer Product Safety Commission had released its update to their handbook for public playground safety. NRPA was getting behind an effort, and in 1992 they had the first one of the first playground safety courses, but the actual first exam. So myself and a lady named Diane Gray, who was with the North Carolina Division of Child Development, were the first two certified playground safety inspectors. I came back and I thought with Candace, I said, I think this is important to share this information because if there's one thing a public park agency has, it's a playground. There's really no more grassroots. So if the science is telling us now about how to make playgrounds safer, then this was an important part for RRS to do to help inform the profession.
Mhm.
So that was really kind of that driving force about getting involved in playground and playground safety. We ended up even working with the Division of Child Development, who licensed child care centers, and help them draft the rules that are now part of the requirement to be licensed about playgrounds and playground safety. And we did a teleconference for all of their folks. It was like 200 people statewide. We did a teleconference on playground safety that matches their rule sets. So again, it's one of those things. The child care center is going to have a play space, and a park's going to have a play space, and how many children you're going to touch, and how can you help the profession learn what is a safe playground, and then transitioning that to how do you keep it safe, and that's the maintenance of it, the maintenance and operations of it. So since 1995, I was asked to be the assistant director of the maintenance management school, and up until last year, I've been part of that. Fantastic program, and actually international program. We've had people from Kenya and Bermuda attend. It is a great way to build the knowledge base for new managers about a process to manage and maintain your park spaces. It's easy to build them, right? But if you build them, they will come and they will wear them out unless you are there taking care of them. So again, those are two, I think, safe play areas and maintained parks are two critical pieces of professional development that are continuous.
And you taught as an adjunct instructor in the Department of Parks and Recreation and Tourism Management at NC State. What do you most enjoy about working with students, and what advice do you share with those interested in pursuing a career in Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, that was interesting. I taught the maintenance operations course, no surprise. Getting them to understand how important this boring thing is, and then encouraging them to go out. If you have any way to go work a part-time job, work it in the profession that you're thinking about. I know that the curriculum at NC State and most of the curriculums across North Carolina have an internship. That's a requirement, and that's great. But the more that you can be involved, even if you're volunteering or working, it gives you a better, I think, at least for the type of learner I was, it gave me a better feel for what I got in the classroom after I saw it in practice. I got a more respect for what I was learning. So I would encourage students to do that, to be involved in it. I think you get more out of it.
Well, you see, Scott's had all this experience, so I always call Scott the link man because if we say
Yes.
something in a meeting,
Yes.
Scott will kind of message you to the side and have a link or a resource to where you can find more information about that. So I was like, oh, Scott will have something for sure. But speaking of your recognition, Scott, and impact, you've been honored with the Distinguished Performance Award for NC State College of Forest Resources, but you've also received a CNR Outstanding Extension Service Award and selected for the Academy and Outstanding Faculty in Extension and Engagement in 2005. What did that recognition mean to you personally and professionally?
So the being part of the academy was pretty neat because you look at the work we do for RRS or extension engagement is about service. Really,
Hmm.
it really is about service. And it's how are you sharing something, and that was the result of work we had done in playgrounds. So it was really, felt pretty neat to be part of that. When you look at the other people that are there and you see the work they do, so that was rewarding, to feel like maybe you have had an impact in an area, small, but an area that can help.
Yeah, for sure. And outside of your professional work, what are some hobbies and interests that keep you grounded? I know Parks and Recreation professionals often pour so much energy into their communities, but how do you personally recharge?
Well, outside of my normal curmudgeon ways, I like to I like to fly fish. Uh, I hunt. I play golf, and I garden. Um, so those are the things that kind of keep me going outside of when I'm not here.
Yeah. And lastly, Scott, we're going to wrap it up. But if you could leave our listeners, whether it be professionals, students, or community members, with one piece of wisdom about the value of parks and recreation, what would it be?
Hmm. Let's see. It just really, you've got to go out and be in it. I hate the term passive recreation. I mean, that's a cemetery. Sorry.
Mhm.
Life is an action. So live, go out and get engaged, help others. Just go out and enjoy what we have, and then put something back into it because you can't just be a taker. You've got to be a giver. You have to give back to the parks that sustain you. So put your time into them, work in them, support them with your time and talents, and votes. Um, just be out and in the parks to enjoy and sustain them.
That's great. Well, Scott, we'd like to thank you for being on with us today, dragging you away from your work in the community. But no, we definitely appreciate it, and we definitely
So
also wanted to
much.
give you your flowers too
Yes.
for the good work you do in your region and statewide as well. So, listeners, thank you for listening, and we'll continue Recreation Resources Service Month.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you both.